By default, TorchStudio will use your local hardware for dataset loading, training, and inference. But you can also use storage capacity and processing power from remote servers and cloud services, such as Amazon AWS, Microsoft Azure, or Google Cloud. Such services provide deep learning image with PyTorch ready to be used by TorchStudio, with no further configuration needed. It's as simple as adding those remote servers to the remote servers list in TorchStudio settings. Their hardware will then be immediately available for dataset loading, training, and inference. Let's start with a simple case, training the MNIST dataset. By default, you see that TorchStudio loads the dataset locally, meaning from your hard drive, and train it with the processing power of your computer, meaning your CPU or GPU if you have one. We'll now add an AWS server to TorchStudio. I created an instance on AWS with an image dedicated to deep learning, and retrieved its public IP, username, and key file. That's all TorchStudio needs to connect to it. I also need to specify the path to the Python binary which has the PyTorch package pre-installed. Then when I click OK, TorchStudio will connect to it, check the software requirements are met, and list all devices available for training. I can then return to my training and select a device from this remote server instead. My computer will then send the dataset samples to the remote server, the training will happen remotely, and my computer gets back updated models way and metrics continuously. Now let's see a more advanced remote training scenario. I'm going to add instances created in Azure and Google Cloud to TorchStudio, and this time specify that inference must happen on the Google Cloud server. Inference is used to visualize predictions in real time on specific samples from the dataset, using the latest trained model. I'm also going to load the MNIST dataset from the Azure instance instead of my computer. This means that from now on, no data storage or AI processing happens on my computer at all. Everything has been shifted to the cloud. We could even say a cloud of clouds in this case, considering 3 cloud services are communicating with each other. The Azure server will be in charge of directly sending the dataset samples to the AWS server without going through my computer. And inference will also be computed without involving my CPU or GPU. I could even start more parallel trainings using the processing capacity of these Azure and Google Cloud instances on top of the training already happening on the AWS instance. This means that if you have access to such servers, either in the cloud or on-premise, you can train complex models on large datasets, even with a low-cost laptop. Any combination of local and remote resources are possible and increase dramatically the possibilities of parallelization in TorchStudio. Please visit torchstudio.ai if you want to know more.